Hi. When was the last time you trusted yourself fully? Fully, completely, without second guessing yourself or asking for anyone else's approval? If you're like so many of us, you might feel like your self trust has disappeared. You second guess your decisions, overthink every choice, and ask everyone else's opinion before you even consider your own. But here's the truth: your self trust is not broken, it is not disappeared, it's just buried. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to rebuild it step by step. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dawn Elgin, and I am the creatrix of Practical Spiritualism, a self-empowerment company. So if you have ever caught yourself thinking, what if I'm making the wrong choice? What if I disappoint them? Am I doing it right? Or my personal favorite, what if I fail? Then you are not alone. I have been there too. And for years, I overthought every decision and doubted myself constantly, and even paralyzed myself when I was faced with the smallest of decisions. I always asked everyone else, what should I do? Because I didn't trust myself to just simply know. I would always seek other authorities, magazines, books, mentors, anything else but me. So here's the truth I had to learn. You don't rebuild your self-trust by being perfect. You rebuild it by showing up for yourself in small, consistent ways, even when it feels uncomfortable. Before I show you how to rebuild self-trust, though, let's talk about why it gets buried in the first place. So first, you've broken promises to yourself. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, and you don't, or this time will be different, but nothing changes, you send a message to yourself that says, I can't be trusted. Over time, those broken promises start to really pile up, and your trust in yourself erodes. But here's something that is even more surprising. In a 2009 study done by psychologists Joanne V. Wood and her team, they found that repeating positive affirmations like I am worthy can actually backfire for people with low self-esteem, especially. Instead of building self-trust and confidence, these affirmations can feel fake and lead to more negative thoughts. Why? Because when your actions don't align with your words, it creates an internal conflict. Your mind knows the difference between what you say and what you actually do and believe. Self-trust isn't built by really empty affirmations or just saying something over and over again. It's built by following through on your promises, even the small ones. Think about it. Somebody can give you a negative comment, and if you don't believe it, if you don't buy it from them, it won't impact you. But if you do buy it, if you invest in that belief, then it's going to have a completely different impact on your biology and your biography. So here's the shift. Start with micro promises. Promise yourself something so small you can't fail, like drinking a glass of water in the morning or doing a 5-minute walk. Each small win sends a new message. I can trust myself. Another big one, instead of using affirmations, is the power of the word choose. So instead of saying, I am beautiful, we could say, I choose to see my beauty. Or I am brilliant. I choose to be brilliant. All of these things are about willpower and choice, which is really what we're looking for, to find it within ourselves as aside to looking for it outside of ourselves. Now, if you've prioritized yourself, or sorry, number 2 is you've prioritized others over yourself. So if you've spent years people pleasing or putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own, you've been taught that your choices and your voice does not matter. Over time, you do start to believe it. When your default is to ask, what do they need instead of what do I need, you send a message to yourself that your needs don't matter. So here's the shift. Start by asking, what do I want right now? What do I want right now? What do I want right now? Play with it. How does that feel in your body? When I started this process, it was really uncomfortable. I felt like I was being selfish, that people would see me poorly or think that I was a bad person, because I'd been taught that that was not what I was supposed to be doing. I was always supposed to be thinking about what other people's needs were. But if I'm trying to make a decision for myself, that doesn't really work. And how can I possibly find my authentic values if I don't even know who I am? And the other piece is to honor your answer with one small action, even if it's uncomfortable. So if what I want right now is a little bit of peace, then maybe it's that I delay going out or meeting my friends for a little while. Or maybe it's simply that I say tonight I need to stay home. And the third thing is we fear judgment or rejection. If you have ever hesitated to be your true self because you're afraid of what others might think, that is completely normal. The truth is, people will have their thoughts and judgments about your choices. That's just part of being human. But here's the key: their judgment is not your responsibility. And Mel Robbins says, this is where the let them theory comes in. If they think you're too much, let them. If you think or they think you're too quiet, let them. If they think you're wrong, let them. Their opinions belong to them. Your choices belong to you. When you stop trying to control what others think, you create space to trust yourself instead. Here's the shift. Next time you feel the fear of judgment creeping in, remind yourself, I cannot control what they think, but I can control how I show up for myself. Then do the thing anyways. This was a big, hard step for me. For a long time, I stayed very quiet. Even though everybody saw me as this big personality that was always out there and had my opinion, I had tons of social anxiety, and I hid a lot of it so that people wouldn't know my vulnerabilities. Now I'm just honest about it. Here's what I'm going through. This is what was my experience right now. And then I lean into the discomfort, like making these videos. Some days they're super uncomfortable. It's scary to show up as your authentic self when you've been taught that that could be a dangerous place to be. So here's the 3 steps to rebuild our self-trust. Start with small, little micro promises. I love micro steps, micro movements, micro promises, micro words, things that are just little itty bitty things that seem small, but they move mountains. So think about it. When someone breaks a big promise to you, you don't trust them again overnight, right? So trust is rebuilt through small and consistent actions. The same is true for yourself. So start with a promise so small that you can't fail. It could be as simple as, I'll drink a glass of water when I wake up tomorrow. And then follow through and show yourself that you can count on yourself. And even setting yourself up for success. Maybe if it's going to be, I'm going to drink this glass of water for myself, then pour the glass the night before, throw it in a jar with a lid on it, slice a lemon in there, and leave it beside the sink. Whatever that you need to do to rebuild a new pattern and create self-trust. 2, stop explaining yourself. One of the fastest ways to rebuild self-trust is to stop justifying your choices, justifying your existence. Every time you over-explain, you're telling yourself that your decisions aren't valid unless someone else approves. Instead, practice saying, no, thank you. Or, and my personal favorite, just no. Or, if you need it to be softer, I'm not available for that. And here's the key: let the silence sit. Your decisions do not need a permission slip. And then 3, speak to someone or yourself like someone you love. Think about how you talk to your best friend. And if they made a mistake or felt stuck, would you say you're such a failure? Or you can't do anything right? Of course not. So why would we talk to ourselves that way? Rebuilding self-trust starts with giving yourself the same grace and compassion you'd give someone you love. One of my all-time favorite quotes, I was listening to an interview one day with Matthew, I think it's Matthew Hussey, and he was on the Drew Barrymore show. And in the interview, he talked about the job that we each have. I always say we have 2 purposes in this lifetime. Our first purpose that we all share is to know thyself. Who am I? Who am I? Beyond the body, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and all of that, who am I? And our second purpose is to help others do the same. But within that first purpose, that then moves into the second purpose, is a piece that Matthew brought forward. And he talks about that our job is to take care of ourselves, to love ourselves. And it's in taking this job seriously that allows us to make different choices, do the hard work, and become truly sovereign. So in it, he says, you know, just going to pull it up here. Loving ourselves isn't a feeling, it's an approach, it's a job. You don't need to like yourself to love yourself. Liking yourself can come later. Loving yourself is your job, and we need to start taking our jobs seriously. This was a huge one for me that made a massive difference on the way that I looked at myself and I looked at my role in instilling this work, even with my children or with my friends and those around me. Loving yourself is your job, and liking yourself can come later. When I was struggling with learning how to re-listen to my intuition, she becomes such a quiet little whisper. I had to get so silent to hear her. And it was only over when I would listen to those little whispers of my intuition that I started to rebuild that relationship with myself. And that's what we're talking about with self-trust. Can you listen to the whispers of your intuition? What is he or she saying? And when we listen to that, we rebuild it. As we rebuild that trust and we rebuild the confidence in ourselves, we start to like ourselves more. Loving ourselves is our job, and it starts right now. So, with all of this, here's what I want you to remember: your self trust isn't gone, it's waiting for you to reclaim it. Take one small step today, a micro promise, a bold no, or even a kind word to yourself. And watch how quickly you start to feel like yourself again. If this resonated with you, leave a comment and let me know what's one promise you're making to yourself today, because I would personally love to cheer you on. Until next time, stay true to you. I see the light in you, and it is brilliant. Brightest of blessings.